results were released last week. QTV has been informed of a drop in the number of students who scored credit passes that meet university admission requirements. QTV's Mamadou Lamin Choi has been speaking to the ministry and an educationist for analysis of this year's WAS results and has the latest.
The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education has issued a press release to update the public on this year's WAS results. Now let's take a close look at the numbers in this year's results. 17,201 students registered. However, nearly 800 did not take the exam. While candidates' performance in mathematics have been reported as having increased, there is a drop in the number of students who scored credit passes in English. Baba S. Toure works at the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education.
Number of students that registered for the exams, you'll realize that 60% of the number are girls. So that is why the pass rate as well, those that have 5 credits and more, constitute of 53% girls and 47% boys. So yeah, I think there is an improvement.
The West Africa Senior Secondary School exam is a highly significant one organized by a regional examination body, the West African Examination Council, commonly called WAEC. Most Gambian students at secondary level take the external exam. Results from it determine one's qualification for entry into tertiary or higher education, including the University of the Gambia. Alpha M.K. Low, a seasoned educationist, gives his take on students' performance in this year's WAS.
Last year, I remember we scored 605 students, got 5 credits including English language and mathematics. That means we had that number meeting the requirements to go to universities. This year, if we are to contextualize it within that same requirement, we were only able to get 463 students that were able to score 5 credits including English language and mathematics. And that is a significant decrease from last year's figure. So that means by last year we scored 3.9% pass of students who getting admission to university or getting requirement to go to university. This year, we are talking about 2.9%. That is really shocking, alarming, and it's a call for concern.
Though the ministry's press release does not mention the number of students with at least 5 credits, including English and mathematics, QTV has verified from the Permanent Secretary at MOPSI that 463 students got the university entrance requirement, as mentioned by Alpha M.K. Low. In the press release announcing the results, MOPSI reports an improvement in the number of students with 5 credit or more, who thus met university entrance requirement. However, after investigating to verify the claim, we found no evidence of improvement in students with 5 or more credits meeting university requirement, that is, including English and mathematics. By way of comparison, Nigeria's results show 79.81% of students gaining 5 or more credits, including English and maths. What we can report is that in the Gambia, more than 2,700 students scored 5 or more credit passes, which is 316 more than last year's. Alpha M.K. Low alleges that the ministry has been misleading in its communication about this year's WAS results. We put the allegation to the Permanent Secretary of the Education Ministry, but he declined, not wishing to comment on allegations from individuals.
Yeah, because if you look at the press release coming from the ministry, in my opinion, there are a lot of facts they are trying to hide from the public. The release indicates that there is an increase of 316 students who met university requirement, which I think is a bit misleading. Going through the details of the statistics, I noticed that by that increase, they mean the number of students that were able to score 5 credits and above, but that does not mean it includes the English language and the mathematics.
A positive development in the performance of students is in TVET-related subjects. There are pass rates of 90% in auto mechanic, 88% in applied electricity, 81% in woodwork, and 74% in clothing and textiles.
I think we have to look at so many factors with regards to how do we determine who passed and who did not pass for exams. Now we are talking about, we're talking about University of School of Education. So we should also consider not just those that are able to make English and mathematics as those that pass, but we should also consider those that have done well in TVET and could be able to have enrollment in the University of TVET.
On what actions to take to resolve the poor performance of students in such a crucial exam, Mr. Low recommended government to increase funding for the Basic and Secondary Education Ministry and improve the employment terms and conditions of teachers to attract the best of the best. Mahmoud Lamin, QTV News.
September 27th each year is observed annually as World Tourism Day. The day is celebrated to focus on promoting tourism in various parts of the world. As the Gambia gears up for its tourism season, Lolem Kamara looks at the significance of the day and she files on this report.
The theme for this year's World Tourism Day is Tourism and Green Investments. According to the United Nations World Tourism Organization, the aim is to raise awareness about the significance of tourism to affect the social, political, economic, and cultural values of the international community. Tourism continues to play a significant role in improving a nation's economy and enhancing its image, including here in the Gambia. In observance of the day, we also engaged stakeholders in the industry about the upcoming season. These tourist taxis are licensed by the Gambia Tourism Board and are dedicated to serve tourists and other visitors. Here, they are parked outside the hotels using a queue system. Baba Sise is the president of the Tourist Taxi Association, the Gambia. He explains how the association came into existence.
The association is formed, I think, in 1994. Because of one of the drivers of the GPTC has accident in Sankulakunda. The time they make sentence, our orders, our leaders, Jombo, Jaju, and Jeng and Uncle Keba Sise, they said this is not a tourist taxi driver, but we can make effort to assist this man. So through that, we organize sector. So we aren't to get certain amount of the money. We went to the Antoine, Jeng, to assist us, to help to get this man out. So luckily the boy acquitted and discharged. From there, the elder said, so we have to make proper association. But this one, because of emergency. So there, we make a proper association.
Mr. Sise went on to state that more than 2,000 people and 9 tourist car parks are registered with the association. But despite this number, the association faces lots of challenges, and he called on authorities to help them with more security.
During the tourist office, not GT board, they keep us Wednesday and Thursday. Market that's proposed for the local people. So we have business. While now, we have no business. So we went to the ministry many times to appeal, still nothing. Right now, we have a lot of problems because of why? Private taxis. They have a lot of private taxis both sides.
Senin Jai is a tourist taxi driver stationed at Senegambia. He told me he started the business in 2002 when the business was booming with lots of tourists coming to the country from other countries like Germany, Holland, and the UK. Ahead of this year's tourism season, Mr. Njai explained some of the preparations being made to welcome the season.
Yes, so
this is a routine each year. As for this year too, our expectation is that when the season opens, things will be different and better compared to previous years. We have done almost that needs to be done. Those of us whose vehicles need maintenance have done so, and the situation of the garage, amongst other things, is also sorted. So our expectation is that around the 15th of October, towards the end of the month, tourist flights will start coming.
Mr. Njai made this plea to the Gambia Tourism Board and the government.
One thing we are sad about is, today if tourists want to visit a zoo, they have to go to Senegal, and that can cost a lot of money. I believe we have space in the country that can be developed for that. Places like Abuko Nature Reserve, the Kiang West National Park, among other places, are all attractions tourists can visit, but because of their conditions, visitors' numbers are low there. For us, the drivers, we only get 2,000 to 2,500 from the 40,000 to 50,000 that the tourists pay to go to Senegal. And that's for transport and ferry crossing. And the rest goes to a foreign land.
Fatou Diallo, a waitress at a restaurant in Senegambia area, highlights some of their plans for the season. As of now, renovations are ongoing. We are also preparing a new menu. And for our staff, we are doing capacity building in terms of appearance and hospitality. Tourism continues to play a crucial role in the country's growth, and it contributes 20% of our GDP. According to the people we spoke to, they are hopeful of a great season this year. For QTV News, Lolly M. Camara.
We are wishing all stakeholders in the tourism industry a successful season ahead. Now from that, rice is among the most widely cultivated cereals in the Gambia. Our regional correspondent, Alaji F. Jallo, spoke to rice farmers in the Upper River region about prospects for this year's rainy season, and she files in this report.
The Gambia has a lot of arable land, especially along the fertile riverbanks of the River Gambia, which, if used properly, can cater for most of our demand for rice. Currently, the country relies heavily on rice import for consumption. For these farmers, growing rice during the rainy season helps reduce the burden of buying the staple food. This 27-hectare rice field has over 200 plots of cultivated rice fields. Bubakar Sankare, the focal person and facilitator for the Rice Farmers Committee at the rice field, said the intervention of the Roots Project has transformed and scaled up rice production. However, he expressed concern over the dry spell that impacted rice growth.
So what transpires here at this moment, we are trying, and most of our people, as you see, they are on weeding because of the drought. So, when there was a drought, people can't weed their plots as they like it. So there are grasses, and everybody is concentrating on he or her plots to weed them at this moment, and most of our people are applying fertilizer. And we are working today with the Roots Project. Alhamdulillah, we will thank the Roots Project's management from the manager up to down, up to the last agronomist on the field. We would like to thank them because they have done a huge development on our rice field.
Mr. Sankare further stated that the rice fields have the potential to supply local markets if farmers get the necessary support.
Production and productivity of rice in the Gambia here, especially in Basse here, we all know is part of food security. Most of the people here, they don't buy rice. Maybe half a year or round the year they don't buy rice. So if at all they are not producing, they will buy us, others buy rice. So we work with rainfed. Before, as you know, before, here we have Chinese, it was an irrigation rice field. But due to certain circumstances, we have canal problems, especially canal and where to place the machine to get water from the river to the rice field was our major constraint, because today we have no proper canals.
Sona Keta, a farmer, expressed her frustration over the lack of farming tools that is hampering production and productivity. Our challenges at the field is the lack of farming implements. If we have materials like power tillers and tractors to plow our fields, rice production will be sustained, and that will bring development to us. The machine you are seeing at the rice field is not functioning, and operators are not at our disposal. We have not reached our target. We seriously lack farming inputs. We cannot do all this labor with our hands. Also, our intention is to cultivate this rice field all year round if we are supported. Food security is attainable within a short time. That is, if farmers are empowered with the required skills and capital. Farmers in this community depend on locally produced rice for income and consumption. However, many we spoke to complain about the lack of modern farming equipment and the high cost of fertilizer. Reporting for QTV News, I am Alaji F. Jallo.
From that story on prospects for this year's farming season, we will now go for a short commercial break, and when we come back, we have some more local, international and sports news. Do stay with us.
Yow man de yow ma armanti lay dundee suma kër. Gis bi dafa ceeñ. Ceeñ. Masu waaw du gis ngeen daw si ba mu amee sikki sàkkane Armanti mii dañoo wecci ay cafkaam ba ñu ko ubbilee siwo bi ba xet gi dugg ko cam billaahi la mu yëg bari na Armanti ñaar fukki at ak nangam ba mu ne cëpp ci réew mi ba tey mësula wecci doxalin mësula wecci cafka
bu leen ci am benn ñaari xel man mii di jaay lépp luy produit gi Armanti rek am naa ko am na 500 millilitres 1000 millilitres ak 5 kilos ba noppi nag am 750 ml bi nga xam ne mi ngi toj réew mi gis nga Armanti Eva Protect Milk bii mooy mos dolli te Armanti spaghetti bii ngay gis moo dàq ci spaghetti yi
gis nga Armanti bota margarine bii noonu la gënee ci yow mi nga xamante ne yaa ngi jaay tàngane ci Johnson bi kombi fi Armanti la dugal sa waa ñoddi sa kombi bi gis ngeen lii sardañ la da nga gis góobi jën bi dafa neex gis nga meew ko ndig mil bii Armanti ko fi indi moom mi dafa sakkan xoolal xale bii nu muy naanee banana milk bi gis ngeen flamingo oil bii dem leen ci bépp boutique bépp supermarket ci bépp marché
Armanti ki prodogam kenn mënu koo ceeñ
The Central Bank of the Gambia, having been requested by the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, will establish and nurture the Security Exchange Commission, Central Security Depository, and the Gambia Stock Exchange. His Excellency, President Adama Barrow, will officially launch the first capital market of the Gambia on Friday, 29 September 2023 at the Sadauda Kairaba Jawara International Conference Center. Please join us to celebrate this significant milestone in the financial market landscape of our dear country, the Gambia.
Thank you so much for staying with us. If you're just joining us, you're watching QTV News, and I am Jenna Basonko. Now, the National Nutrition Agency, NANA, in collaboration with the State Scaling Up Nutrition Business Network and the World Food Programme, commenced an annual convergence and 3-day capacity building on Tuesday on the processing of whole grain cereals for diet-related non-communicable disease management. Lena E. Ikwenyebe was there, and she now reports.
Globally, chronic non-communicable diseases stand as the leading cause of mortality. Whole grains, recommended by dietary guidelines worldwide, offer health benefits that extend beyond basic nutrition. Research indicates that integrating whole grains into a healthy diet can significantly reduce the risks of conditions such as cardiovascular diseases, obesity, type 2 diabetes, and cancer. Recognizing the relevance of these findings for both young and elderly populations, this joint convergence seeks to enhance the capacity for managing non-communicable diseases. Michiko Terada, the World Food Programme WFP representative, commended the initiative.
You are taking a very great role, not only for preparing materials, the healthy food, but also you can create a very healthy culture in terms of the feeding practice or eating choices, or maybe making a right healthy food choice from the children up to mothers and adults.
Representing the Executive Director of NANA, Bakari Jallo, the Director of Program Implementation at NANA, highlighted the essential role of good nutrition in human lives.
We know it is important for one to be well fed, for them to be productive, and that it doesn't only stop at being well fed, but being fed with adequate food with adequate nutrients to meet all the body needs so that you can do your work as is expected of.
Lamin Jai, Finance and Admin Director at NANA, emphasized their commitment to combating malnutrition, aiming for healthier and more prosperous communities.
Our aim is to combat malnutrition in this country, being undernutrition or overnutrition. And if you say undernutrition or overnutrition, people who don't understand what nutrition means will always think it's just food or health. And when you talk, yes, it's true, food is a critical element of nutrition, or you can say it's all about nutrition. The business network in the Gambia who are trading in food and food commodities have a critical role to play in terms of fighting malnutrition in this country.
The SBN Gambia chapter is a part of the Global Sun Business Network dedicated to enhancing nutrition and increasing the availability and affordability of nutritious food, especially for low-income consumers. Aji Fatu Bob, the founder of Mubajak Agro-Food Processing Enterprise, encouraged fellow members to engage actively in this network. Cereals offer complex carbohydrates, dietary fiber, and protein, while being low in fat and rich in essential vitamins and minerals. They are not only convenient, but also provide crucial nourishment for individuals. Reporting for QTV News, I am Lena E. Gwenyiba.
From that story by Lena E. Igwenyiba, we will now take a look at news beyond our borders. In a historic move at the G20 summit earlier this month in India, the African Union secured permanent membership of the group after nearly 8 years of advocacy. While African political leaders say membership will give Africa more say on global issues, political analysts disagree on how big an impact membership will have on the continent. Momodou Mboj takes up the latest of that story.
Congratulations to all of Africa, said Senegal's President Macky Sall, former AU chair, who had helped to push for membership. Kenya welcomes the addition of the African Union, the fastest growing continent in the world, to the G20. The country's President William Ruto wrote on X, formerly Twitter. The AU Commission's head, Musa Faki Mahamat, said this membership, for which we have long been advocating, will provide a propitious framework for amplifying advocacy in favor of the continent and its effective contribution to meeting global challenges, he wrote on X. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa, the Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and others all expressed delight at the AU's membership of the Group of 20. The leaders hope to use AU's G20 membership to give member states a greater voice on key global issues and to make a stronger contribution to the ongoing renegotiation of the global order. However, amid the official continental glee, journalists and analysts have been asking, why now? As the AU Commission's head, Mohammed, has said, we have long been advocating for permanent membership. The AU admission, the consensus goes, signals the rise of a continent whose young population of 1.3 billion is set to double by 2050 and make up a quarter of the planet's people. The continent's enormous natural resources have been rehearsed ad nauseum. But crucially, many experts say, we are living in a time of intensifying great power rivalry, where the West has entered an increasingly entrenched conflict with Russia, and tensions rise between the United States and China. Furthermore, the China-led BRICS grouping, fast gaining momentum as the counterweight to the G20 and winning many friends in Africa, serves an awakening to the G20 that they couldn't continue to ignore Africa in the newly emerging international order. According to analysts, the AU's entry into the G20 should be viewed in the context of this geopolitical rivalry. Which takes us to the second question. Is AU membership a symbolic event or a substantive development? In a jointly written article by former Prime Minister of Niger, Ibrahim Hassan Mayaki, and Daouda Sembène, former Executive Director of the IMF and Senior Economic Advisor to the President of Senegal, it says, Africa will need to speak with one voice if it hopes to influence G20 decision-making. In the major global policy-making forums, member states of the AU don't speak with one voice, as the African vote in the UN's General Assembly on Russia's war against Ukraine demonstrates. Therefore, the AU must find a structured way to arrive at common African positions and speak on behalf of member states. Lessons should be drawn from the EU's experience, where more than 300 common positions have been developed. Additionally, the AU must react decisively and effectively to events that include the spree of military coups and irregular elections that have blighted Africa's democratic trajectory in recent months. The doubters scoff at Africa's ability to act effectively and cohesively, and the hopefuls see the G20 membership as opening up the possibility to take collective African positions on strategic questions to the global table. Both camps, however, agree that this is a great opportunity. For QTV News, I'm Mamadou Mbowe.
Now the debate continues. I'm afraid that is all we have time for, but a reminder that tomorrow is a public holiday throughout the country in observance of Maulid al-Nabi, commonly known as Gamo. Do enjoy and don't forget to join us at 10 p.m. for another bulletin. Enjoy the rest of our programs.